Going on, everyone? Welcome, Rabid here, and I am preparing for the 9950X Ryzen CPUs, which is set to launch somewhere around the 15th. So it's not too far away. I have everything I've needed for over a month now, as we can see here. So I'm going to start putting things together, flash the BIOS and everything, so we're ready to install those CPUs when they do release. Now, looking at the latest news, it does look like it's officially announced that the 9950X will be about $649. If I convert that into Canadian dollars, that's about $891. So we'll see what that price looks like when they do release. It might end up around $900 to $950 when they do finally set and come, when Canadian prices do drop and stuff. That was, I can't remember what it was when the 7950X came out. I think it was around $1,100, so that is cheaper. But my expectations for the 9950X, I know a lot of people are pumped for it, but they're kind of dropping. So why are my expectations dropping? Sure, there's been some gaming reviews and stuff out there, but they're not performing that well. And honestly, I don't really care what any gaming reviews say about CPUs. We care about hash rates and crypto mining. And when we first seen it, it's looking like exactly what they did do between the 3000 series and the 5000 series, where they took their base clock and they dropped it 1 megahertz. Now, when it comes to this 9000 series over the 7000 series, they actually dropped it even more at 200 megahertz, where we have the 7950X coming in at 4.5. The base clock on the 9950X is actually only 4.3. So that's a 200 megahertz drop. That's what I usually run by. You take your base clock, that's where you can run at 1 volt or less. So we're going to be dropping that and losing some speed on the high end. Now, the other thing will be, will the AVX 512 full support actually help us out? Well, that's only going to really help us out in theory based on Cubic, because that's the only algorithm that currently does anything, if they're even using it at all, because there's no idea what's actually going on with Cubic. They're all up in the air and changing things constantly anyway. So point being here, before I get it, I'm just going to give my quick expectations, and I have a feeling it's either going to be about the same hash rate or possibly less. Just like what we see with the 3 and 5000 series, the 3000 series actually does a bit more hash rate on most of the algorithms, if not on par, but it uses quite a bit less power, where the 5000 series does draw more power to do that based on the voltages and everything. So I'm thinking the 9000 might not be as good. Again, I have no idea. So I do have enough stuff here to build 3 9950X CPUs here. I do have another one hiding. I can only find the 2 right now, but I know I have 3, so we'll find that somewhere some other time when it comes to the drive there. But I do have the parts for 3. Now, I think I'm only going to get 1, because based on what I'm kind of speculating here, it might not be that good. In the 7000 series, you can get one 7950X, even some 7950X 3Ds in Canada here, $200 to $300 cheaper than the 9950X. So it ends up not being that good, or even if it's on par as the 7000 series, it'll just make more sense to build 7000 series rigs. So I'm only going to get 1 at first instead of loading these up with them, determine how well it does perform once I do all my testing on the algorithms, and then I'll decide what to actually build on. But for now, I'm going to start building these, getting them all together. Obviously, we can't put a CPU in them yet, but let's get started. So I am going to be running these 2 rigs per a single power supply. I got some stands and stuff here all printed out so that we can stack them on top of each other. We got 3 motherboards here. I'm only going to put 2 together for this, the 2 kits of RAM, the 2 hard drives here, which I will be flashing HiveOS beta version onto them. I seem to run beta on everything at this point for all the latest features and stuff, as well as getting those CPU temperatures on the 7 and now the 9000 series. Hopefully they work on that. I guess we'll find out once they're released here. We got our RAM here. I got my box of coolers hanging out over here, so we got lots of extra coolers. Let's get building. All right, so as we can see, I mounted up these 2 motherboards like so. Let's kind of give this a spin without dropping it off the table here. We have a motherboard on each side. So I'm going to flash the BIOS on each of these so they're ready, and then I'll put in the hard drive. We'll flash HiveOS onto it, put in the hard drive, the SSD there, M2, whatever the heck one I'm using there, and then we're going to throw in our RAM as well. All right, so looking at the current BIOSes available for the B650M DS3H, which are the 3 that I have here, I can see the latest stable version is F30. So if there's ever a letter behind it, like here we can see F31A, F31B, these are all beta versions here and new versions of it. So July 5th, there was a F31A that does say update for, I guess, 1.2.0.0A for Ryzen 9000 CPU performance optimized. And then there's another one with DDR compatibility here, and again the same 9000 CPU performance optimized here. But I'd never like to use beta BIOSes, so I'm gonna go with the F30. Hopefully it works, and then when release actually does happen for these CPUs, then I'll just come in here and check to see if there is a later version that's not a beta anymore, or if it even reads and works on the current F30. But F30 does say next gen Ryzen processor support, and that was in May. And you know, we had all the previous processors already released and going before this, so this is, I'm assuming, for 9000 series. So I'm going to go with F30, and then we'll just see what happens as we get closer to that release time. All right, so in my downloads here, we can see that I made a folder for it, the F30 DS3H F30. That way I won't get it confused if I download more in the future, and I kind of have an idea what my latest BIOS is that I have downloaded here. And this is the file we're going to need. Now, if you've seen my previous, when we're flashing with QFlash, which means you can update the BIOS in your motherboards if it supports QFlash without a CPU or anything installed. All you got to do is install the 24 pin and the CPU power cable, and then you can just install this and update your BIOS. So that's what we're going to do here. But before I do that, I'm going to have to come into here. We're going to take this, right click, I'm going to copy it, bring it into my USB drive here, and we're going to have to rename it to what I have the previous version already done. So I'm going to have to delete this and rename this one. So I'm just actually going to copy this name so I know exactly what it is here. It does have to be exact. So you can see it's gigabyte.bin. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. And now you can see in capital letters here, and I do believe it must be capitals as well. So that's what it does have to be. So I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm going to delete that. Yes, delete. And I'm just going to rename this file to that name right here. Paste that in. Make sure there's no spaces or anything in here accidentally. All right, everything is good. I'm going to hit enter. Yes, I want to save that. So there we go. So this is the new BIOS here. This is F30 renamed as gigabyte.bin. And now if I put this USB drive into my motherboards, it should update the BIOS to this version. And hopefully we will have 9950X support for any of the 9000 series out there. All right, so I just showed you how to set up your USB flash drive to update the BIOS with no CPU or anything using QFlash. I do have a dedicated video on it as well, but right now you can see I have nothing in here. All I have hooked up is the 24 pin for the motherboard power right there. There's no CPU power or anything. I have this plugged in, but it's still turned off. So here you can see the red USB plug with the little button beside it right there. We're going to put in our little USB flash drive right here, so I might not be able to do this. It might be kind of difficult with one hand. Let's see. So there we go. Nailed it. Awesome. So now I'm going to hit this little button for like 2 to 5 seconds until we start seeing flashy lights. So let's see here. Oh, I got to turn this on. There we go. So now I'm going to hit this. 1, 2. Oh, see, we already see it doing its thing. So now we do nothing. We just sit here and wait until all the flashing stops. All right, so all the flashy lights is done. We can still see there is a light on for the USB, so it still has power. It does reboot if you had a CPU and everything in it on its own, but I think we're done now, so I'm going to swap it to the other side and flash that one. All right, so I am flashing the other side now. I do want to point out that this is actually using about 12.4 watts during the flashing process. And this side is now complete, and it's only using about 1.1 watts. All right, so now I'm going to flash HiveOS into these. So the first thing you need to do is go into HiveOS here and download the latest version that you want, whether it's the stable version here or the latest zip of the beta version. I am going to use beta for these. Once you download that, you're going to bring up Belania, you know, this one right here, Etcher, and you're going to flash this from file once you put your M2 drive into your little card reader there and into your PC. So I'm going to flash this from file. I'm going to come into my downloads here, and I'm going to look for the latest Hive version, wherever that is. HiveOS Beta 227 right there. We're going to open that up, select my target. I got to find that into where it is. That's this guy. 128 gigabyte drive, select that, flash it. Yes, I am sure that is it. Make sure you don't accidentally flash your C drive or something. that'll wipe it clean. So now we're beginning the flashing process. It's pretty fast on these M2s. USB drives take anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes, and they take forever to update your Hive beta version as well as drivers. And I just stay away from USBs. They also have high failure rates. I really love SSDs, and now I use pretty much M2 drives for everything. All right, so flash is complete. So the next thing I'm going to want to do here is eject it. So I'm going to come into here, eject 31. Yep. So it is now ejected. So I'm going to unplug it and plug it back in really fast. And there we can see it popped up. Now, sometimes it doesn't pop up because it won't read it. There's no drive letter. You just go into your Windows format settings, find the drive that has no letter by it, and just add a letter, and then it'll pop up. So now we got to actually add our worker. So I have 2 pre-made workers already made. If you don't know how to make a worker, simply go to your plus side right here, add worker, add rigs, this one right here, and then you'll get it. Once you do that, you come into your rig like so. I'm going to go into my settings here and just download that rig config. So I'm going to come in. There is already one here. So I'm just going to override it. Save. Yes. So I overrode it. Now I'm going to come back into here. I'm going to go into my downloads, find my latest rig config, copy that. And then I'm going to come into my Hive drive and simply paste that in right there. So we are all set up for Hive OS now. You're going to want to eject this drive again and install it into your rig. So going into there, eject. Now we can unplug it and install it in our rig. So I'm going to do the same process for the other rig now, and then I'm going to get them both installed. All right, so I got everything flashed. We got our hard drives in on both rigs here. Now I got to get the covers on, and we're pretty much done. All right, there we go. We got our RAM, we got our hard drive in, we got everything flashed, ready for 9000 series. All we need to do now pretty much is install the CPU, throw on the cooler, plug everything in, and we're all good to go, up and hash it. So that side's all good here. Flip it over. This side is all good here. So a double rig. So now let me know down in the comments section, because now I'm kind of like, I know I run into issues. I have one 7950X 3D on one and a 7950X on the other. And then when I go to test power, it's kind of a pain to unplug this and that one. So I'm debating if I should just get 2 9950Xs, just call it good, make this a set rig of 9950X, and then I don't have to worry about it. And then with the other motherboard and stuff, I can decide what I want to build. So what do you guys think I should do? Should I just get 2 and make this a paired 9950X rig, one on each side, or should I just get one, test it out, and decide from there? Now, the smarter money would be like, just get one and test it out. But, you know, some reason, OCD issues and stuff, would be nice to just keep them together. That way I'm like, hey, that's the 9950X rig. How's it doing? Power, blah, blah, stuff like that. And if it ever goes down, then I know exactly which rig it is as well. So thank you for checking out this video. We are prepped and ready to go. All we need is for these CPUs to release now. Are you guys pumped for the 9000 series? Is it not looking good for you? Again, I'm not really sure how well they're going to do. I am not having my hopes high, but hopefully they do actually prevail and do pretty well. But I guess we'll find out when they release. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out.